Alright guys, gals, I welcome you back, and today we're going to be talking about what I find to be two of Daiwa's best products. I am a fan of Daiwa, and I'm not a fanboy of Daiwa, but I can tell you through my experience with their new Steez AGS rods, man, they're spectacular. They're pricey, yes, but man, what I'm going to show you in a little bit in terms of what they're capable of and how they really do shine in such a wide variety of applications may actually make you a believer as well. Everybody's always said that the best rod on the planet is G. Loomis's NRX. While I've never used a NRX that's rated to 1.5 ounces, I have used the NRXs that are the direct equivalent to the 7'6" spinning rod, the 901 and 902. They've even used the saltwater versions of the NRX that have the different handle lengths. So when I compare, what you're going to see me and how I compare is it's basically, first-hand experience. I like G. Loomis rods. I don't have anything against them. They're excellent performing rods all around. And in the past, I've owned some Daiwa rods that I liked, some that I didn't. I also had a couple rods from G. Loomis that I didn't really like. So what I truly hope you guys gather of my nonsensical rambling for entirely too long about fancy fishing gear is that I'm not judging Daiwa versus G. Loomis. I'm judging a tool versus another tool and how well they do their jobs. And what's really eye-opening and amazing to me is with the Steez AGS, especially the spinner, it throws within its stated weight range better than two G. Loomis NRX 901 and 902 rods throw their stated weight range. When you take the NRX 901 and what it's best at throwing, and you take the 902 NRX and what it's best at throwing, and compare it to what the Steez 7'6" AGS rod and what its stated weight range and what it's best at throwing, it does it better than both of the Loomis rods. And it also is lighter, as sensitive, balances better, and it balances with a lighter reel. When you want to twitch jerkbaits in a river, if you're bottom bouncing, if you're throwing spy baits, and you want a very light and very well balanced setup, right off the bat, you can balance the Daiwa Steez better than the Loomis NRX with a reel that weighs 2 ounces lighter. So with the, 7.8 ounces is the Stella 3000 in the video, it balances tip up. With the 4000 Stella that I used on the NRX 901 and 902, it still doesn't balance tip up. So right off the bat, you're not only, in a different, ballpark in terms of, how it balances, how it feels in hand, but it casts a wider range of baits, and it does so better than what the Loomis NRX 901 and 902 does. So take that in mind. That's why I'm kind of high up on the horse with this new Steez AGS 7'6" spinner, and I'm glad it's on the market because I had it for a few months now. It was never in their catalog. I never knew about it. I heard somebody mention it on Tackle Tour, and I looked for it. I couldn't find it. I reached out to a friend from Stripers Online, who happens to be the Daiwa rep, and he was able to get me one. I paid money for it. Hell yeah, I did. But hey, I was in the market because I had bought a 9'6", an 8'1", and an 8'2" Tailwalk brand rod. Their High Tide Torzite and their Tie Game Torzites. And I didn't like the actions of the 8-footer, so I wanted a 7'6". So I was like, you know what? See if I can find that. Boom. Somebody just happened to mention it, and that put me on the search for this rod. And its rating is kind of interesting. It says it's rated from 1/16 of an ounce to 3/4 of an ounce. And it's braid rating. We're not going to pay attention to that because I'm using 5-pound braid, but It's got the diameter of most 10-pound braids. This is a Finn's 40G. And it's got a relatively standard mono rating, but this 1/16 to 3/4 of an ounce range is pretty unique. And not many rods of the market would give you that broad of a range. And to be 100% honest with you, some other high-end rods, and just rods in general, don't perform well with that broad of a range of lure. And this is Daiwa Steez AGS, and you're right to think that this should be compared to G. Loomis's NRX. People have been comparing the Steez to the NRX for years. And I had a previous generation NRX, I had a previous generation Steez, and I liked it, but I wasn't in love with it. Now this is their new AGS line, and I had the opportunity to fish this side by side with both an NRX 901 and 902, along with the GLX. And what I found very interesting, very, very interesting, is this is a Stella 3000. And I have an aftermarket handle on it, but it does the same thing with the factory handle. And what I found was this rod balances tip up with the 3000 Shimano Stella. The G. Loomis with a 4000 Stella doesn't balance tip up. It's very tip heavy. And what you'll also find is the casting performance of the Steez AGS. Not only does it outcast the NRX with baits that are right in its wheelhouse, you can literally cover 2 rods with just this rod. I spent hundreds of hours with trout-sized baits down to a 1/16 of an ounce, all the way up to 1 ounce baits. And I'll tell you what, as far as a spinning rod's concerned, there aren't too many that are rated in print, in writing, a range in which is as wide as this. And, you know, normally you would think, oh, well, there's got to be some sort of trade-off. It's probably a slow action rod. It's not a fast action blank. There's no way. I mean, hopefully it shows up. But I'll do a sidearm cast. Not only is it a fairly fast tip, it recovers almost immediately. And under lobe, when you're fighting a fish, it bends appropriately. It sets up nice with jerk baits. It's a great kind of a finesse worming rod. Spectacular Ned Rigged Rod. And, you know, for spy baits, it's a missile launcher. One thing what I found, again, since I'm comparing the Steez AGS to the G. Loomis NRX 901 and 902, I found that once you kind of go out of the printed lure range on the NRX, the tip action of it, the action of the rod that kind of propels the lure for you and does all the work, kind of gives up the goat and kind of falls flat. With the Steez AGS, I don't know why or how. Maybe it's because they use fewer guides, they get more of a progressive bend. But I'm lobbing these 3/4 of the distance across the Raritan River. And I'm not even putting any effort into the casts. This is just a standard jerkbait. And, you know, the big deal that people made on the internet about the Steezes of years past, and what made the NRX such a leader in the high-end rod category, was the sensitivity. And I kind of was in that camp. When you move into these super high-end rods, you know, what you really want to see, if it's kind of your first foray into the upper echelon rods, the coolest sensation is if you're dragging a jerk bait, or if you're twitching a jerk bait in a river, or dragging a Texas rig worm along the bottom, or a jig, and you come across like a rock or a larger stone and it feels like you just got bumped by a fish. And you kind of almost set the hook on a rock. That's kind of what you want out of one of these high-end rods. And the previous generation Steezes, the two that I fished and the one that I owned, I didn't get that. These, at least to me, you get that. And, you know, I think they level the playing field as far as the sensitivity is concerned with these new rods. And I'll tell you what, I'm no socket scientist, but I truly believe that these carbon fiber framed guides do a much better job of I don't want to say transmitting the sensitivity from the line to the blank. Me personally, what I find is anytime you have guides on the blank, they kind of dull the vibrations coming down the blank. And being that these guides are of similar materials and how rigid they are, I don't think you lose any vibration transmission. I mean, who knows? This could be the same blank as the previous generation Steez. I don't know. But these guides, not only is the rod feather light, it's super sensitive. So as it stands, I'm kind of a believer in these carbon fiber guides. And they're cool looking. And I'll tell you what, they've proven to be pretty durable. I haven't had an issue yet, and I was bushwhacking with this stick for maybe a couple 100 miles over the past 7 months. I think I got this rod in September. So yeah, about 7 months roughly is how long I've had it. And Daiwa just put this in their catalog. The second I found out that, you know, through a rumor on Tackle Tour that Daiwa was coming out with an AGS, I immediately contacted Daiwa. I used my cool guy status to see if I can score one. So for the last 7 months, I don't know, maybe I was one of the only guys on the planet fishing this rod, because I ain't never seen anybody on the forums chiming in how they liked it. And you couldn't find it anywhere. But yeah, I am very, very impressed with this. Now, if you do need a slow action rod to protect the light lines, yeah, this is not going to cover your 1/16 of an ounce lure rating. But if you're throwing a 1/16 of an ounce with, say, braid with an 8-pound leader tied in, then this is spectacular for you. And from my experience, the guides on the NRX, those recoils, they do groove. I've seen it. That black oxide finish does wear off rather quickly, and those recoils can and will groove. And on top of that, the NRX recoil guides really beat up your line-to-line join knots. And, you know, I'm a big fan of retying, you know, often, but when I tie an FG knot, I want that knot to at least last me the day. And with the NRXs, man, does it get fuzzy quick at the knot. And I only see that with those recoil setups. So you'll never see me owning an NRX if it's got recoils. They get rid of recoils, I'll consider it. But Internet's probably gonna flame me for that. Now this is a 7'6" spinning rod. And again, I just laid out how versatile it is. And again, this is what, a 3/8 of an ounce lure. And we'll go down to an 1/8 of an ounce. How's that? I think this is an 1/8 of an ounce bucktail or a marabou jig. So this is an 1/8 of an ounce. It's an owner welded clip, 8-pound leader, 5-pound test Fins 40G. Now this Fins 40G, they say the diameter is 0.005 or 0.004 millimeters. I measured it with calipers. If I tried to get down that low, I'd break my calipers and cut the line in half. I was measuring 0.009 and 0.010 diameter, so this puts it right around the diameter of 15 or 10 pound braid, and its breaking strength is right around there too. But what I can say is, this is its second full season. It's spectacular braid. Now, I've seen firsthand that some people aren't lucky and they get crappy spools. I've seen that on the NRX that I was fishing with my buddy. I've seen on the internet, sometimes it looks like the sheathing just peels back. I've seen that firsthand as well. For me, on a couple spots in the spool, I don't know if there's any that are going to show, there are almost what look like welded spots. I haven't had any issues with them. Me personally, this is probably the most durable line and the best line I've ever used in my entire life for freshwater spinning applications. And I do know people will say it's the worst line they've ever used in their entire life. So, being that I've seen it's almost a luck of the draw kind of thing, I can't really recommend it. But this isn't a review with the line. But as you can see, I'm throwing an 1/8 ounce marabou jig, and I can feel the weight of the jig very cleanly and very clearly. And it's casting effortlessly very far. That's an 1/8 of an ounce going down from 3/8. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to switch up. I just wanted to give you an idea how well this throws. We're going to switch up one more time. So that was an 1/8 of an ounce. Do I have anything lighter? Let's see. Alright. How about just a bare hook with a 1/16 of an ounce piece of tungsten hanging from it? So it's a 1/16 ounce piece of tungsten. It's a decoy. This is just I think it's a 2.0 owner finesse twist lock. And again, a 1/16 of an ounce. Can you see the rod tip quivering? I can feel it. I can feel it swinging and pivoting. All right, so we got basically a bare hook. This is I think it's a 2.0 owner finesse twist lock, and that's a decoy 1/16 ounce piece of tungsten. Again, 5 pound braid that really is as thick as 10 pound braid. That is more than acceptable. See how many cranks I'm cranking to get this back in, just to give you an idea of the distance. And that wasn't me being overzealous with the cast. They can go lighter. This is 1/16 of an ounce. And I can feel it. I can feel it ticking bottom easily. And the rod is rated 1/16 to 3/4. Effortless cast. Get a little snap into it. Not much further. But I'm about 30 feet shorter, 20 feet shorter than when I was throwing that 1/8. So it's keeping up. Again, this is just a bare 1/16 of an ounce bait. And it does load the rod a little bit, which is what you want. Alright, basically what I was just throwing from the 16th to the jerkbait. That jerkbait that I was throwing is almost out of the comfort range of the NRX 901. It's almost too heavy. Now this rod here is a Steez AGS 8-foot rod. Now this one's rated from 1/4 of an ounce to 1.5 ounces. Again, another very wide range, something you don't see very often printed as such. Usually it's like 1/2 ounce to 1.5 ounces, that kind of stuff. Now this is a 1/16 of an ounce weight, and we're gonna see it's going to get the spool going. So 1/16 of an ounce. It goes. It'll throw it. This is 8-pound braid. So this is Suffix 832. I just put this on. 1/16 is not enough to really load the rod. You can see him kind of aiming out to the side, and it's kind of swinging around. Let's see if I go. All right. All right, guys, I'm going to cut this video right around here. And the reason why I'm doing it is I'm a realist. I know not everybody's spending, 25 minutes at a clip watching me talk about fishing gear. But it's a very unique rod, and I really want you guys to see it. If you guys are in the market for a high-end piece of fishing kit, this rod is very, very unique. And that's why I was throwing it with a 1/16 of an ounce. That rig that you saw is a Scooby-Doo rig, and you'll see another video on that in the future as well. It's a very effective way of presenting soft plastics. And it's a 1/16 of an ounce, and the rod does throw it. So why am I throwing a 1/16 of an ounce on an 8-foot rod that's rated for 1.5 ounces? The rod weighs and balances in the realm of a rod that you would specifically buy for throwing a 1/16 of an ounce, an 1/8 of an ounce, a 1/10 of an ounce, and 3/16 of an ounce. The way it balances with a 4.5 ounce reel, which is a ridiculously tiny, lightweight Abu Garcia MGX Extreme 2, it balances up 2 inches ahead of the reel seat with that reel. So that's kind of why I'm showing you a 1/16 of an ounce, trying to prove a point of how ridiculously light and how well balanced this rod is. So for those of you who have made it this far, I greatly appreciate your time. You've heard me say it many times in my other videos. I know your time is valuable, and I fully respect your time, and I don't want to waste it. So those of you that have made it this far that aren't subscribers, do me that favor and hit that subscribe button and hit that like button. If you guys have any questions at all, feel free to ask me in the comments section. I do my best to respond to pretty much everything out there. And enjoy. Take care, guys.